the Caffeinated Cooper Show.
Yeah, I believe in you. I don't believe in lucky sevens. I'm not sure about Loch Ness, but I know I believe in angels. I believe in happiness.
Good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to see you. I am so glad that we're back. This weekend is going to be a huge weekend. So make sure that you tune in tonight because we want you here tonight. All the way through the weekend, there will be 12 interviews between tonight and Sunday. I cannot wait. And I'm so excited to be here with you. I have an amazing guest connected with me tonight. If you want to know, what does my boss think of me? What is my first impression? How can I make it better? Is it really even worth it? He's here. Patrice Bisiot is here, and he's going to tell you all about everything he knows from fashion to creating your brand of you. So I would love to bring him up, but I've got to do a shout out to my sponsor. So tonight's sponsor is Honey Stinger, and Honey Stinger is a fun brand. If you saw season 2 when they came on as my sponsor, I was testing out this little product because I was doing a lot of weightlifting and spending a lot of time in the gym, and I really surely do miss it. But I tested it and I got it all over my keyboard. So be careful. Warning, it's messy. But Honey Stinger, let me bring up their information so that you can write it down. Don't go there right now. I want you to stay connected. Hello, Ken. It is wonderful to see you. So Honey Stinger at honeystinger.com. The fuel made with delicious honey and organic ingredients so that you can push harder and go farther. Honey Stinger products fuel every step of every athletic journey. Honey Stinger, that's HoneyStinger.com. However, you can now get them almost everywhere. I was so excited. If you go to their website, you can get 15% off today, and they've expanded their reach. So now you can get them at Target, Kroger, REI, Vitamin Shop, Walmart, and of course, Amazon, my favorite, easiest, right? Who loves going grocery shopping from bed? Me, because I'm running like a crazy lab rat all day long. I just don't have time. So where do they get their caffeine from? Well, it's actually sourced from white tea extract. They have some really great flavors. The flavors I have in front of me, and these are great for your gym bag too. These are energy chews. They have caffeine. They do not have a lot of calories, and they're gummy chews, to be honest with you. It's gluten-free, no GMO, energy-sustaining honey chews. And let's see, this one is pomegranate passion fruit, which is really yummy. Cherry, I'm not really a cherry fan, but cherry blossom is yummy. And it doesn't give you that nasty artificial cherry aftertaste. No, everything's all natural flavors. Hello, Walgreens. Yes, Ken, thank you so much. So he found Honey Stinger at Walgreens. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. The Stroke waffles, these are gluten-free, non-GMO, low in calories, and they have wonderful honey in it. So make sure that you go to your local store. For 2022, they have added a few flavors. Mango melon, which is a water additive. So they're branching out. It's 50 milligrams of caffeine in their water additive, as well as, and I kind of find this a little funny, I've got to say, cookies and cream waffle, and they say gluten-free and natural flavors. Natural flavors of cookies and cream. Sorry, I gotta say, I giggled out loud and I giggled internally when I first read that. So make sure that you go to honeystinger.com, HoneyStinger.com, or any local store around you, and be on the lookout for Honey Stinger. And be like Ken, always. If you happen to see him in a store near you, let me know, because I'll put it into my notes, make sure that I'm properly advertising for Honey Stinger. Thank you so much for being a sponsor of the show. Now, on to our guest, our featured guest of the evening. We have Patrice Bisiot. Celebrity hairstylist and keynote speaker Patrice Bisiot is a man with a mission. A mind hair evangelist, Bisiot wants us to know that hair goes deeper than its roots, and hairdressers need to address that. He is quoted stating, think of your hair as your headline, your logo, your elevator pitch. On one level, it's how you tell the world who you are, explains Bisiot. But on another level, he continues, hair can reveal what you haven't told the world. Ooh, that's hard to digest because it's true. And to prove it, Bisiot delights his audiences with his signature hair readings. I'm going to ask him about that. I want to know what a hair reading is. So he's a best-selling author also, and founder of Bisiot Image Reading. Patrice Bisiot, a celebrity stylist and executive coach who by the age of 9 realized his dream of being rich and famous. Though he's curated looks for some of the biggest names in Hollywood, he battled low self-esteem and self-doubt that started in his youth. In his book, Mind Your Hair, Patrice shares his top tips for leading to a life of freedom and fulfillment. His new book, Mind Your Impact, is currently on pre-order on his website. And without any further ado, I'd like to bring the man of the hour out, Mr. Patrice Bisiot. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you, Elizabeth. And I'll start with bonjour.
Oh, bonjour.
Oh, there you go, catching on very quickly. Nice.
Yes. So that was meaty. Like, that was a really long intro, and I could have gone on and on. Would you mind telling us, how did it all begin?
All right, so the journey started in Paris, and yes, from the youngest age, I knew a couple of things that were clear to me. I was going to be an entrepreneur, and I was going to travel the world, but do good for the world as well. I didn't know how this whole thing looked like, but I knew I was going to have my name. And yes, I was at 9 years old saying I'll be rich and famous, but with purpose. Now, 18 years old, hair became the craft of choice, and that's when I was managing 3 salons in Paris for a very high-end brand. And that was like the beginning of me realizing this is what I want to do. I want to take on the world. I want to make, I want it larger than life. And then at that point, I'm telling my boss in Paris, I want more. What does more look like when you're 18 years old and you're managing 3 of my salons? There is nothing more to give you. Well, actually it did, because they did an opening in Bar Harbor, Florida, which is in Miami. And that's when I came to the US. So same thing, started adapting to my new life, but I also knew not for me. Opened my biz at 90 years old, and that's when everything started being clear. So it was a beautiful operation in a 5-star resort, but more importantly, I was like, all right, how do I take that to the next level? Now I'm in America. Hollywood has always been the passion of mine. Hollywood has been my inspiration and passion, because from 14 years old, I was working on the runway. For models on the runway, in studios, commercials, billboards. So I already knew that atmosphere was for me. But Hollywood was the real dream. Like, that was really my point of inspiration. So that's when further I hired my publicist in Beverly Hills to build my brand. I didn't know what a brand meant, but I knew that if I had a PR, she or he was going to do something good for me. That's when I started working on the red carpet, having beauty segments on TV and all. But in the process of helping celebrities or global leaders with their hair and their appearance, they started trusting me with more. And trusting me with more became, what do you think of this? And then also the conversation started changing, because it's like, I want to be the best dressed, make me the most gorgeous. But what does that mean? Because your gorgeous is not my gorgeous. Your emotional connection to the word is very different than mine. So define it for me. Tell me, how does that look like to you and for you? And often it was like, I have no idea. All I know is you need to do it. Yeah, but I'm like, okay, but appearance can only be what can reflect what you are and who you are from within. It's the core value of you. We're going to be able to align with your appearance. That's how it does. And I started realizing that people were like, oh my God, write a book about it. Write a book about it. I don't really know. Anyway, keep on going until I realized one day that this world with reality TV and the message they were giving, young women of the world, I was like, if that is the message that's been given to the world, don't worry, don't have any talent, don't have any passion, just be famous for whatever reason. No, no, no. Mind Your Hair was born from it, because one day I'm sitting in New York, there was no audio, but I could see the visual that's to me frightening. And from it, I said, no, it needs to be explained that hair is actually a choice you make upon the emotional state you're in. And that's when Mind Your Hair was born, because I wanted to explain the 7 steps of a successful hair makeover. And that's how it started taking off rapidly. And the message was understood more so than the hair. The understanding of the self-empowerment, self-development was stronger than the actual story with hair. And this was the beauty of it, because that's exactly the way I wrote it. And then keynotes started getting me to understand my gift even better, until finally somebody who was preparing some digital products for me said, we need to find your unique selling proposition, the magical USP. And the USP really one day is like, you know what, I've got a question for you, because I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. I'm great at what I do. I love what I do. I travel the world. I'm passionate. Obviously, everything about what I do is part of my life. And he said, well, when you look at someone's hair, are you able to know who they are? And I'm like, oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, that's easy. He's like, no, hold on. What? When you look at someone's hair, how? Well, I say it's intuitive. It's just something that's ingrained in my DNA. Yes, of course, I have all the signs that I can read that I know who the person is. Now, that's when I started implementing that hair reading during a keynote, that at the end, to support all that I just talked about for 45 minutes, now 3 subjects on stage are able to say, all right, I'm asking Mary, for the sake of a name, give me 3 adjectives that you think you represent when you come in. When you walk into the room, what first impression do you give? Now, I'm doing the same exercise with the crowd. So now that everybody is done with 3 words, I'm asking the crowd, obviously 3, 4, 5 around. And mostly those people will have the same words, different, but the same meaning. But now Mary is thinking, oh, well, I thought I did say this, this, and that. And now the discrepancy became where it's like, well, why don't we talk about how you wear your hair? But then you see, I started a conversation with hair, but very quickly, what I was doing was really understanding the entire thing, the body posture, the voice pitch, the outfit, the choice, the colors, the material, the fabrics. And then I started saying, wow, yeah, but I could see how in your childhood that happened. I could see you're in the middle of a divorce. And it started becoming this sort of mentalist experience that even I was like, wow, I do have that in me, because it was something always natural that I had in me. And that's why further on in a keynote, this lady, Cindy Brown, who now became a friend of mine, helped me to develop a coaching program for CEO and C-suite, because she said, you need to help people like me. I saw what you did, and you need to help us at a much greater level. You need to help us with our brand. Okay, same thing. I'm intuitive. I don't really know how to explain what I'm doing until 5 years later, I was able to finally go deep, 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 deep down, all the way with my editor, who did an amazing job, Lorraine Garnett, to say, now we need to explain your gift. We're going to weave in some memories, some biography, which I was completely against, because I was always very secretive and everything had to be Hollywood perfect, until finally sharing my authenticity. And that's what 20-something years look like in 5 minutes.
My gosh. Okay. It feels like, when you go and you get hand soap and it's concentrate, I feel like I just got the concentrate. So let me back up for just a moment. Because that was wonderful. That really brought everything all together and completely makes a whole lot of sense. But I want to ask, you are so young and managing so many different salons.
Mhm.
My goodness, where did you get the maturity and the expertise and the integrity to do that? Was that something that also at a very young age, you were just laser focused and that's where you're going, that's what you were going to do, and you knew it and nothing could stand in your way?
Yes, and I share some of the details in the book, but it had actually to be coming from pain. Initially, I was pushed around a lot at school. I was bullied, and my father was not an example of love. So it first became this thing of more of a motivation, like, oh, really, I'm a loser? Well, I'm going to show you how a loser I am. But then in it, I also knew that I had a soft and kind heart. So I was not the kind to just go revengefully after life and the world and just prove myself to the world just because. Then I always knew I was going to be an artist in some form. It was artistic. I knew I was sensitive to everything around me and the art and everything that was around me, walking down the streets of Paris and realizing and also understanding there is a why. Why? I always had to know why, the psychology of the approach, of the purpose. And that's really where I knew I was going to have my own business. I was going to be my own man in the sense that no one will tell me what to do. I was very hard-headed. I was extremely, my mom would say it still to me. Something happened not too long ago. I was in Paris and she said, my God, you're the same as the little boy. When you have something in your mind, it just won't go away. And it's, like, no, that's an answer I don't get. If I need something or I want something, I go for it. But I don't just go for it. I need to explain it, and I love to, So that said, when I got to manage those 3 salons in Paris, it was a natural thing because I started really young with that company. So they saw me, and they saw from the moment I got in. I used to be every week to my boss's office, literally every Thursday morning, because that day was we were starting later because we were doing a late night. And I was like, I want more. Until the point that he said, oh my God, you're not here again. Please tell me you're not here again. What do you want? I want more. I want more because I know inside of me there's something, So when he offered me the US, I knew instinctively, yes, oh my God, yes, I remember, oh yeah, my mom's really dear friend who lived in New York at the time, she would go every summer to the south of France. We would see her. And that's when she was like, forget it. You were born for the US. And suddenly everything was like, the angelic light around me. And I'm like, yes, the US, that's it. And that's really then everything just was clearer and clearer and clearer, But then in the process of all that also, it's when I lost everything in 2009, I ended up in my car sleeping from all the success I built to, being completely, being shattered in pieces. My 4 businesses went to nowhere. My best friend, so-called best friend, who was basically, was stealing all the way through. And I ended up in my car. And that moment was actually where I realized my vision, mission, purpose. I'm like, either I kill myself now, and then that's it, or I embrace all that I have already built from the youngest age and make the best of it. And that's when I moved to Beverly Hills, and that's when everything started going up.
Oh my goodness, what a powerful story. I have a quote, and you actually said this on a red carpet. It was the Watson Style Group red carpet from 2017. And I think this will open up the conversation to drive home what you're saying here. Mind needs to be healed before we make any physical change. That is huge. That really resonated with me. And this goes so far beyond, just a hairstyle or, I'm just helping this lady put herself together because she has to be on camera tonight. It's so much more than that. When you have someone, and let's be honest, in the past couple of years, we've gone through many different things that people could want to do. May it be, I want to ombre my hair pink and purple, or to the grays. I want to go completely gray. What do you say to someone when they approach you and say, I want a radical change?
You see, often and too often, people hire me because they think, okay, you're going to fix my problem and tell me what to do and what to wear. I'm like, this is not happening. And now I go through a series of questions, but really the idea is what do you want to tell the world? And I love my little game. Some of the very small tips and tricks is choose 3 words, 3 adjectives that you think you're portraying. Erase from that on a piece of paper, because pen and paper, the old-fashioned way, because typing away in digital, no. Be mindful, being present in a moment. That's part of building your brand. You need to understand what's going on now in order to build the future, because it's not looking at 10 years from now. It's looking at this very moment. Now, who is your mentor? All right. The mentor is this person, that person. It doesn't have to be a famous person. It could be your neighbor, your grandma, whoever it is. You need 3 words to represent what core value. What do they represent to you? Now, we have 3 words on each side of the page, and now, how do they mirror each other? They don't mirror each other at all. Well, then we probably have some work ahead of us, because if you want to achieve those 3 objectives, we need to understand the core of you. So now we're going to dig, start deconstructing, understanding the pattern of thoughts and the pattern of behavior you have been cultivating from the time you were a little girl or a little boy. And now we're going to start understanding why you keep repeating the same thing, why you do wear that, maybe, or why you act upon that in a certain way because of what you have really lived and created from the younger stage.
Very interesting. I love the concept of hair reading, and that really has to be something that is so just a skill that you've honed. Has anybody asked you to teach them that skill?
Yes, and I just couldn't, because it's something so intuitive. And that's why it was important in Mind Your Impact, my new book, now to explain this gift and to able to now back in time. But it took 5 years to do that. And it was between therapeutic and self-discovery. I mean, it was a mix of everything to understand what was going on. Because I could tell from the younger stage how someone was wearing their hair. I understood what they were saying. I understood what the message was. And that's branding right there. That's why when a client sits down and says, all right, I want to look pretty, I want to look hot, I want to look sexy, that means nothing. Give me more. Now we're going to start talking. And that's why when I do a hair makeover, it's never like, all right, don't worry about it. Got you. No, I don't got you. I'm not here to quote and impose my point of view. Yes, I'm going to have, of course, a lot of ideas upon your skin complexion, the texture of your hair, the way you carry yourself. I already have, of course, a general idea of what you're already telling me right now. But that's not the point. It's not about me. The experience is about you. And about you means you need to understand you, and I can translate it, and I can align the emotions and the appearance together to create a new look.
Interesting. So I have a viewer, Ken Dodge, and he's asked the question 2 different ways. So earlier he said, what about us bald guys? And then he said, I'm an actor that has no hair. What can I do to make me stand out?
You see, I get that all the time. In fact, I picked one of my first clients was bald, but he was bald, but the way he wore his hair, actually the remaining of his hair and his sideburns, I'm like, yeah, well, you're in 2 different places right now. You think that you don't need to care about your appearance, but you are actually mindful of it and you don't really know where to stand. Why? Because the sideburns were too thick and long and bushy. Meanwhile, the rest was buzzed. And I'm like, all right, well, what did you make this statement? Oh, because it looks cool. Looking cool is really reminding him of the time where he was younger, the girls were after him, he was popular and successful, and those sideburns were the only remaining from the hair that he used to have, and it was the reminder of the good old time of the past. Now you're an actor, of course, there are many ways you can wear your baldness, because now you can actually either shave it completely Billy Zane style, that's one way. Now you can have just the buzz cut, and you're going to show a little bit of hair. It's a very different message upon how you do it. It's either I'm more practical, I'm more the sports guy. You're an actor, yes, of course. 1 millimeter of hair, 3 millimeters of hair, or 5 is saying a very different message. Do you keep a sideburn? Do you keep a 5 o'clock shadow? Do you have a full beard? How do you fade the sideburn from the cheek all the way to the hair? All those elements are going to say a very different thing. You go to a casting as an actor, well, that's not going to be reading the same thing if you have a beard like that and you look like you were out on an island where there's no more hair, or you shave completely. You want to see more of your facial structure, maybe your beautiful jawline, your cheekbones. Now that's saying another message. And that's how it is. All the details, even to a bald guy that think, oh, who cares? You should care. Every detail is giving your life story.
Oh, great advice. So I was watching a lot of your podcast broadcasting under Image Impact Index. Now, imageimpactindex.com is your website. And I was watching you on YouTube. You have a wonderful, and they're all short segments, so they're really easy to just binge watch you and go through so many. But you have a wonderful broadcast about women in the workplace. Can you elaborate a little bit on the topic of the workplace for both men and women, and how quickly can we make that first impression?
Be mindful of you. You see, the journey starts in the mirror in the morning. When you leave the house, this is when you need to be completely ready. The problem is in the workplace is too many people are depending on what are the others going to think. You see, society has done this thing now where everybody's like, yeah, be yourself. Yeah, embrace who you are. Now you are who you are, and everybody is going to bash you. I mean, some people will bash you for it. And social media is a great place for that. With all the trolls having nothing better to do, will do a great job at criticizing what you do. You see, that's about owning your space. Before you go to the workplace, you need to go to your own place, because that's the thing too. People think, oh, I just want you to help me with my personal brand, or I just need help with my professional brand. Okay. Does that mean you have two bodies? No, you only have one. Well, you're the same person leaving home and walking into the office. That's where it starts, at home. You need to own your space. You need to be mindful of what are you saying. All those colors, what you have chosen to wear, what accessories, what shoes, how do you wear your hair? All that is going to tell the workplace or the personal environment who you are, what you're saying about you. Because the colors that you're going to choose, the pattern you're going to choose, the material, the fabrics. Now, the workplace could be a bank, and there's one message, and you cannot, I know there are some guidelines, but in those guidelines, you could still be you. Obviously, I don't know if you remember Suits or if you ever watched it, but Suits was a great example where the leader, she was this powerful, gorgeous woman, and she was wearing to a point of couture. But it was a law firm, and you would think that the whole cliche is, pantsuit, skirt suit, but don't wear anything, navy. I mean, just navy, black, and that's it. Maybe beige, like the big, if you really dare it. No, she was actually pushing to showing I'm in power and I'm going to show you. So same thing here. The workplace, yes, of course, upon the industry, there are going to be some guidelines, but use those, the taste of yours, who you are. You want it there. Maybe it's going to be in your jewelries. Maybe that's going to be where, the push will be just a little bit of that impact that you want to be noticed. It's going to be the color of your hair. It's going to be the length of your hair. Maybe the style that you have chosen that's super edgy and strong, although you're very classic with your clothing. That's how it works. And also, in the workplace, men and women, let's start women among women, because that's also something that's really sad to see, because it's this whole gender equality right now going on. But if the girls are really honest with each other, and I do a lot of female empowerment group keynotes, it's about saying, girls, when you are together, or one turns her back to the group, who hasn't said anything about the girlfriend, or the person next to her about how that fits? Look at her. Everyone. Because it's just nature. So let's reset to embrace who we are, all of us together as a community, and that's how in the workplace the flow is going to be. And that's really where the beginning of it is, from your home, own your space, own yourself, and then everything will follow. Because the more you are that person, the more you're going to lead a successful life.
Great advice again. Now, when I was 20-something, looking for that first job, I was very mindful, and I think maybe it's generational, very mindful that if you have a tattoo, you put it somewhere where nobody's going to see it. You don't have any piercings beyond maybe just your ears. The young people of today are, in my opinion, pushing it a little bit further to where possibly they're not thinking about the future. What is your opinion on tattoos above the neckline? things that you can visibly see. What's your opinion on that?
Yes, that's true. I mean, the tattoo, that's a big, big question. In fact, in keynotes, often it is, okay, does it look, edgy or trashy? It's always the big, big debate. First of all, it depends on the industry you are in. That will make a big difference because you're an advertising agency, you dare the tattoos, they go all the way up. All right. To me, there is such thing as balance. And to me, tattoo is a beautiful art form. But it's too many, like everything. Like when there's so many, I'm confused. And actually, it's unclear. On a branding perspective, it's unclear. Like it's here, it's there, it goes out. Okay, but what were you trying to say? That's really, and I could actually see a confusion. You started somewhere, and now you got lost with more and more and more balance. And that, to me, yeah, a tattoo could be embraced as a personal message, the remembering of someone dear to your heart. Maybe something that marked your life. You went to China and there was this dragon and there is something that connected you and captivated you. You want it on your body. Great. But now, also, there is such thing as, and when I say balance, it also is with your workplace. Where it's like, okay, you cover tattoo from here, there, and then you work at a banking or a financial institution. You're going to sign, a handbook. And that's going to be the rules you have agreed to respect. But then, often that book is signed by the person, but then complain very quickly, that's not, well, you read, if you had read all the pieces, you would know that's not the environment for you. Maybe work in something a little more free, spirited. Maybe a hedge fund where they're a little more creative and people are not going to look at you the same way. But if you're a formal institution, yes, there will be something said upon you. So now understand, it's like a couple. Okay, can we meet in the middle and we do great? But if it's my point of view is the only one that counts, and then you go into the workplace, it's not going to work that way. So it's really all about balance and understanding. All right, those tattoos, are they fitting where I'm going to? And address them. Address them to HR. There is nothing better than authenticity. That's going to engage the conversation as well to say, all right, would it be a problem? Now, the message and the conversation is clear and everything is flowing.
There's something that you had mentioned where simplicity is sophistication and they go hand in hand. What about regionally? I've noticed, let's just take the corporate marketplace. Los Angeles is different from New York.
Totally.
Dallas is different from Miami. Atlanta is different from Nashville. What about those crossovers of someone, let's say, coming from Dallas where, from what I understand, everything's bigger, it's flashier, it's a lot of jewelry, it's big hair. And then you go to somewhere, let's just say Virginia, DC. It's understated, it's dark colors, it's suits and pantsuits. Totally different environment. Do you wind speaking with a lot of people that are crossing markets like that, but yet in the same position they started?
Yes, and it's going to be kind of a little bit piggybacking on the previous conversation because it's really about knowing the person moves. And I helped actually client like that. In fact, I'm thinking of that ad agency in New York, and she had the owner, killed it in 3 years. She became a multi-million-dollar operation, incredible, edgy, on top of her game, big accounts. And now she's getting this lady who is actually, she came from from the South, and it was actually not Dallas, but just about. And yes, of course, there was a ring on every finger. The hair could not have been bigger. I mean, if she had been next to a flame, the hair would have set on fire.
Oh,
and it was all that. And here we are in an environment where everything is minimalist and crisp and pure, and the lines, and it's stark white everywhere. Now it's like, well, who didn't do their job? Because you see, when you hire someone, that is your time to assess, hey, are we a match? It's literally a date. It's just exactly as a date. So now what do we have? Two people very unhappy with each other because now we have the owner that says, oh my God, I mean, when she talks to a client and the client has to see her, they're like, what just happened? You're selling me the future. She looks from the past. Now the lady feels frustrated because now she feels like every time there is a comment made of like, could you please remove some of those rings? I mean, you have rings in every finger, literally. And can maybe the hair become a little more kind of a New York style instead of the old 1983? And you see, because the lack of conversation, that's really where it comes down to balance once again, is really that conversation to say, hey, are we a fit? Are we a match? Yes, the lady with her credentials was rocking it. But now she had to face clients because she was taking care of some of the big accounts. And now we have some very, very like fast speed New Yorkers, entrepreneurs, ultra successful, looking at this lady and saying, hold on, she's actually like dealing with my money. I mean, this campaign we're gonna spend, $5 million on it, and she's gonna be part of it. Does she even understand my message? And now it's back to branding. You see how appearance is always about branding, because now the conversation becomes, is that aligning with my message? Because that lady looks like everything but now what I'm selling or what I'm saying in my message on the billboards, on TV or whatever. And that's what it's so important to knowing, hey, are we a match? Is my appearance going to be a problem along the way? Because that appearance is going to create all kind of problems. It's not just like, oh no, I don't like what you wear in your hair. All that has been chosen by the person upon how they feel about themselves. So now, is it we can match those emotions together? Can we find a happy middle where you take half of your ring off, I'll be fine. Maybe the suits have to be, updated because those shoulder pads only on a quarterback, football team is really good, but in this office, not so much. And now let's see how that conversation gets carried. If it gets carried away a bad way, or if it's like, yeah, I think I can work with that. And that's what it comes down to.
So I can imagine that you receive phone calls from employers as much as employees.
First.
Which are easier to work with? Those seem like two really big tasks.
There's no easier. I love it. First of all, I love challenges because to me, I love to solving the problem, but I like to bring a solution. I don't look at it as a problem. I look at it as, all right, what's the discrepancy here? What's the conversation? What are you complaining about? What's really unhappy for you in your world? Employees, the same thing. It's just someone here that feels off balance with what they see, what they feel. And it's the same thing, with music or, it's like, I don't like that. That's horrible. No, it's not horrible. It's horrible to you because your vibration is not receiving it properly. So same thing with appearance. Upon each other, we are reading signals from one another. That's how we communicate from the moment the world was world. I'm talking literally back with the mammoth and everything. There was a way where they were wearing their skin. There was a purpose to everything they were wearing even back then. The length of the hair said something. Along the way, hair said, upon with the kings, in France, upon the hair, the wigs, they're going to be saying what social class you belong to. So back to your question, it's really not employers, easier, harder. No. It's about saying, what is your message at the end? What do you want to tell the world? What both persons are, those two people across from each other are saying to one another, and how do we fuse it together into a conversation that's fluid? Or, I can't do it. I can't employ you, or I could never work for you. And that's it.
Wow. Now, I'm sure that you had mentioned it earlier. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty almost 100% certain that you did. But let's talk about your book, the first book, Mind Your Hair.
Mm-hmm.
When did you begin writing it? How long did it take you to complete the project?
Mind Your Hair actually was about a year, finish to finish, like beginning to end, soup to nuts, a year. Just about. It was very easy. It was rapid. It was like this thing I had to get out of me. Like I realized I had it in me for so long that it was just like writing. And it was it. It was just a very natural conversation with myself to knowing how can I teach the women of the world and men, really, because it's a gender neutral conversation. I want to change my hair. Hair is the most emotional choice you can make because I realized too often clients were coming to me, either referral or even my clients, who say, you know what, today I want a new, I feel horrible in my life. Maybe it's a divorce, maybe whatever it is that's really, dramatic for you. And you think by changing your hair, you change your life, therefore you change the problem and the problem goes away. But it's like moving 10,000 miles from where you are thinking, now I'm going to have a new life, a happier life. If you haven't done the job from within, beauty is from within, and beauty is emotion. Branding is emotion. Branding is purpose. Beauty is purpose. What do you want to say? Once again, so that's when I started understanding that if I gave per chapter an example of a client that burned that particular step, and that's where they ended at the end, which was obviously not the result they were, counting on. And that was, this book was a great ignition to like, oh yeah, but I have more in me. All right, they'll wait for the second book. But that first book was so quick and fun. And then I got signed up by a keynote agent in New York who recognized the power, the self-empowerment message underneath the hair. Because some people took it literally, it was about hair, but it was not really about hair. It was about hair, of course. That was the early conversation. But then it got to bridge into, do you love yourself? What do you want to tell about yourself? How deep did you go in the message within you to tell the world how my hair looks? Because hair is so emotional, but that emotion needs to be captivated. It needs to be like understood, studied, pieced out, and say, oh, okay, got it. Now that's what I want to tell the world. Okay, great. And now we can decide on the color and the length and the texture, because now we have a real story to tell.
What happens when the story changes? Everything's evolutional.
Absolutely.
So if you have one branded look, especially for actors and actresses, one branded look, and then you age, things change, maybe you gain a little weight, maybe you lose a little weight, and that image begins to become rebranded.
Absolutely.
What happens in that evolution?
You don't have to be an influencer. You see, that's where also the other part of it is like, when people talk about branding, first of all, people think that branding is your website, your logo, your business card. All right. No, you have a brick and mortar business, that's the interior and the design you have chosen. Not at all. Everyone is the star of their own life. So you don't have to be public. You don't have to be rich and famous in order to know what is your brand and being aware of it. Now, I love your question, because that's just like in a couple. Every so often, it's like, hey, are we good together? Same thing with yourself. Of course, who you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago is not you at all anymore. Therefore, on your appearance, you're going to feel that maybe you want to be a little lighter, a little darker. You want to be maybe form-fitting a little more, because now you're gaining the self-esteem, and you want to show that hot body that you're working hard at the gym for, or else you gained some weight, you had some kids, life got hard, you got distracted in the middle of all the hats you're wearing, and that's like, oh, I'd rather hide a little more. So how do I do it, but with style or poise or gracefully? And that's, of course, evolution is huge in branding. Yes, we should all at some point say, hey, is that still me? And you know it if you listen to it. Only people just pile up stuff in their closet. And because the closet is your emotional vault, it's really where you put the good, the bad, the ugly. It's the perfect memory of the great date that you had, and it's this wedding that was so amazing, but it was also, oh, that's a horrible date. Oh, maybe it was a funeral of someone you love so much that you cannot part from that suit. All that is saying who you are, but at a particular time, a moment in time. And you cannot just be with that moment in time forever, because that doesn't work that way. You want to follow what's in your heart, when it's in your guts, the core value of you, and display it in the way you feel right here, right now. So, of course, I'd say every couple of years, you need to go back to your closet. You need to consult with your hairstylist. You want to say, hey, what's trending? But you see, the beauty of it is now it's trending. So get inspired. You don't have to copy, because, like every decade, the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you could totally see this upon the side. You knew people were like going into a certain code, a clothing code that they had to respect on the hair, because otherwise they were kind of, you're out of the loop. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Now you can adapt it yourself. There is no all those rules that it used to be once upon a time, like matching colors. It's something from the 80s for ladies. Now you dare to punch up color with the shoes. The purse, the size of the purse, all those details are going to say who you are. Are you more practical? Are you more on the sophisticated side? You still like your streamlines? All that is going to be upon how you feel right here, right now. This is why the present moment is the only one that counts to build your brand.
Oh, I love that. All right. Now you have your second book, which is on pre-order, and it's Mind Your Impact. You tell us a little bit about that. When did you begin writing it?
Yep. So it took about 5 years. Yeah. So about 5.5 years ago, it started being like, all right, how do I explain the psychology of appearance? Because when you say that to someone, it's like, ugh, oh God, okay, that sounds too complicated. Oh, and I don't want to be a fashionista. Oh, I don't really need to understand everything there is to know about clothes. Well, actually, there is. Because in the 70s, they have already started books, A Dress for Success is one of the biggest bestseller ever at the time. And it was the sort of the beginning of the mindset changing to saying, oh, yeah, actually, the way I look is kind of the way I tell my story to the world. That's how people are going to perceive me. Before I know your IQ, before I know anything about you, your credentials, if it's just a one-on-one and that's, just something of last minute, well, what am I going to go by? Everything I see, we are reactive beings. Again, when people say, oh, we're judging. No, we're not judging. It's not judging to be mean. We are reactive beings because that's what we do with our DNA. The same thing where we do with everything. We made out of 75% of water. So we are all vibration. We receive vibrations. I mean, if you put a bowl of water and play classical music, the ripples are not going to be the same as rock and roll. Same thing when we see someone and it's like, oh, because that vibration is too strong for you and you're receiving it literally, and that's something you don't relate to. Whether it's the style of their music, the style of the hair, the style of the clothing, the lifestyle, there we go. And that's really how that book was starting, saying, okay, I need to describe simply 5 greater style. And then because of the amazing life I have, I'm going to share one chapter at a time with a celebrity or global leader, how I changed one thing of their appearance and changed the entire message and became literally the turning point of their life, whether personal or professional. And that was when I started putting those stories together. I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, I got the examples. And then my editor, who was brilliant at weaving through some of the biography to understand, well, yeah, but we need to know, how was that gift born? So that's that book. Now that Mind Your Hair I was so proud of it. I mean, everybody had to hear about it. But this book, I'm so proud of it in the sense of the depth, the message, the authenticity to a place where I never shared those stories before. And it really gives this entire puzzle to be, when you're done, I promise you, when you close the book, you say, wow, I understand appearance like I never thought of appearance. And now your wheels are going to start spinning because I was able to plant seeds in places you didn't even know you would think of as what appearance represents to your life.
Very interesting. So we make judgments within an instant.
Of course.
Mm.
But, the 5 second, you have 5 seconds, 7 seconds to make a great impression. Let me rephrase it. And that's my motto. You have a nanosecond to make a life-lasting impact. You see, that's the thing. When the brain speaks with the nervous system, it takes literally a nanosecond for all the patterns adding up together equal a result. You see, upon the part of the world you live in, the religion in the house, the language you spoke, who was your mentor, who did you choose to become an adult. All those things are going to create, for you. I love to give those, a blonde lady, big bust, super form-fitting clothing. I don't remember many people saying, oh, she must be super smart and the head of a major multi-million-dollar company. Because that's the cliche we give. Mm-hmm. Now, that's what I do. I start saying, no, read beyond that. You're going to start understanding the signs. And that person is actually telling her life story in a different way. You went by your own measures because these are the measures that you have been developing, creating, cultivating from the younger stage, because we are the product of our childhood. But that's really where you start understanding more of how does that coding works? How does everything got put together? And that's why this book is so dear to my heart, because it shows you also, same thing, when people say, oh, I don't have the budget to change my entire wardrobe. No, change one thing right here, right now, and I guarantee you, whatever goal you're going for, I can achieve it by just choosing that one piece that's going to change the message and now clarify the message.
Very nice. Now, your channel on YouTube
Uh-huh.
is Image Impact Index. And
Mhm.
I saw something on your channel, which were meditations.
Uh-huh.
You have 3 different meditations on there. One is Believe, the other one is Retrain Your Brain for Wealth, and the third I saw was Manifestations. Do they work? Do you use them?
Every day. You see, when I lost everything, I was lucky enough to have in my life, I just started learning yoga. It was the big thing, I've heard, it was a big thing for the longest time, yoga. All right, you know what? I'm going to do yoga. Socially, it'll be great. I'm going to tell my client I'm doing yoga. It'll look good. On paper, amazing. But I got lucky it was literally at the cost of my uber success to losing it all and sleeping in my car where he actually said, you need to just stop everything before you can build yourself back up. I don't care how much success, and you're going to make millions of dollars again. Don't worry. It's okay. But you need to stop and understand what you are right here, right now. And in fact, he said to me something that was so profound that I was like, okay, I'm not sure what you're taking in the morning, Mary. That must be super strong. Yeah? Because he said the way you breathe and the way you meditate is the way your success is going to come. The calmer you breathe, the more successful you're going to become. Okay, sure, you go, boy. And then little by little, I understood what he said. It was just about stop everything. The chatterbox keep going and going and going. But now, the more you are calm and in peace with self, the more you center yourself, the more you understand you. Therefore, now, you're going to be able to get ready in the morning a very different way. Now, the other example, and the very contrary against it, is you wake up late, you have to feed the kids, prepare the lunchbox. It's a nightmare and a frenzy in the house, and now you got 5 minutes to get ready before you go out and go to work. Do you possibly think, Elizabeth, it's going to be the same quality result aligning emotions and appearance as if you start, even with just 5 minutes of your time to calm down the mind, to start your day, because I like to start my day with it. And it doesn't have to be, people think meditation, you have to be hours upon hours. No. If you sit, 10 to 15 minutes really to give yourself, but even if you have 5 minutes, but really give them to yourself, now the mind is clearer. Things are going to come to you. Now you're going to be like, oh yeah, what am I going to wear? Yes. Oh yeah. What is the goal of the day? Now you're going to be purposeful because brand is purpose. Brand is emotion and brand is purpose. So now if your emotions are calm and they're aligned, well, now the other part is going to be balanced out because, all right, yeah, got it. Now I am in peace. Yes. But if you go frantically in your wardrobe and then go, okay, you know what? Whatever comes at me, but now what's going to happen next? Maybe today you're going to meet, without knowing it, you're going to sit at the bar next to the person that could have given you that dream CFO job. But you don't look so good right now. And yeah, the hair should have been thought over a little more. And that's why you only have a nanosecond to make a life-lasting impression, because that moment is the only one that counts. It's not like you could say, you know what, stay here, I'll go home, I'll get ready again, and I'll come back. It's gone. So that's why that nanosecond is precious. And I did a big loop to come back to the beginning, because that's easy to, important to understand that meditation part with that nanosecond, because they all go together, and that's how you create your own circle.
Clearing out the noise, right? There's so much noise, especially coming from social media. What is your opinion of all of these filtered selfies?
Yeah, I'm totally against it. As you can see, it's authentic. Right now, in front of the screen. And, I'm someone that comes from a world where there's nothing that's normal about it. It's filtered and hair extensions and whatever makeup and more something, new technology, new of this and more of that, and corset to make you look thinner. But you see those filters to me, and I got the example, and I'm going to give a quick example that's great because you girls will relate to it, and men too, by the way, because yeah, it's on both sides. Well, my client the other day, I go to her house, she's like, oh, you won't believe it. Oh, what am I not going to believe? I went on a date last night, and the guy was so rude. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm sorry about that. Well, what happened? Well, he lets you open and say, you know what, you're a liar, and this isn't you, and I'm not really so you're already lying here, so you're probably a liar. And the guy left. I said, okay, why don't we sit down for a moment together with that one? I said, let me see your photos. Let me see what you've done. Okay, it was not even a filter. At this point, she filtered on top of filter. It was so filtered that I'm like, oh, well, this one barely looks like you. Yes, maybe his delivery was too abrupt for you. But you know what? The man said the truth. You're here to date. Dating by essence is saying who you are from the way you look. Now, those filters are going to be like giving a certain image. Okay, great. Yeah, that looks great. And you look very Victoria's Secret on that. But then the reality comes, and that person across from you goes, what happened? Like, literally, what happened? I've heard that too. And I know it's hard to hear. Like, what happened? It's like, what? Am I so bad now? It's not so bad. You shock the mind of the other person because the perception of you they had was what they had on picture. And you faked it. And you, like, made it so not you. Don't be surprised that there's, the conversation is going to be going very differently as if it is your own picture. Yes, the person is going to pick you. You'll show up. You're you. Now there is a conversation. Otherwise, those filters, they're just the death of you, because now we're here to build your brand. Your brand means the core of you, who you are. You need to own 100% of who you are, because the whole rule of, 50% like you, 50 don't. 80% of people do not like you. That's a fact. It's number. It's statistics. Now, out of those 20%, 10 will tolerate you. All right, I don't care one way or the other, but I really don't care. All right, 10% left, 5%. On occasion, they're going to tune into what you do. They're going to like what you wear today. But, yesterday they thought, nah, I don't really like what she's doing. I don't like what she's wearing. But today, no, I connect with it. And 5% of the population is going to love, adore what you have, anything you have for sale. Everything is there for you. And they're going to just be a fan from the moon to the moon and back. That's how it works. All this works with those filters that have done nothing more than poisoning reality into, like, you're surprised it is not going the way you want. Well, that's the contrary of spirituality, or that's the contrary of authenticity. That's really the contrary of where you're going with your message, or with your life, or who you want to date, or what career you want to have. It's the same thing basically as building your credentials, going to a headhunter, and then by the time you show up in front of them and they all say, oh, you have an MBA in this subject, and you have a doctorate in this, and it's like, not really, actually. No. Yeah, I finished high school. What? But you want the CFO position? How does that work? Same thing. It's the same premise. It's a lie. It's something you invented because you're too scared of yourself. And that's not a way to build a brand. If you don't own everything there is about you, there is no brand.
You are like the best therapist on the face of the earth. And you add so much style to yourself and people as well. I get to listen to you for days because everything you say has such strong common sense, and you're not afraid to say the truth.
No, I speak with my heart. That's the problem with the world. And believe me, I was the one that was afraid. I was a kid. When I was a kid, I promise you, I was so many of you where I was so afraid of me, afraid of what I had to say, afraid of the way I looked, and I was too skinny. And then, I heard so many horrible comments over, my growing time as a kid to a teenager, that I didn't want to have any of that. And now, when I remember the first interview I did when I was in the Oscars, and, they were going to ask me about what trends. If I tell you what trends is going to happen, for fall. I didn't know. I don't even know what I said. All I said to my PR is, please don't do that to me. Please, please, please. And she's like, well, you want to be famous or not? I mean, make up your mind here. And I was like, I couldn't breathe. I didn't even know. I don't even know what I said. I can't even remember. Maybe I avoided that interview. Like, I was like, I did it, but I didn't watch it afterwards. And that's what I'm saying. I started with you, but it was a step-by-step process. Everything is a step-by-step process. The problem with today, everybody wants magic. Oh, I gained some weight. Oh, there's a pill. Yay. There's no. So I say the truth. To your point, yes, I speak authentically. I don't have time. There's only one gift that was given to me. I squandered too many years of wondering. I walk into the room. Is everybody's going to love me? No. Oh, this one look at me like, oh. Did I do something wrong? Is there something on me? No, there was nothing on me. That was their journey, not mine. But it took me so long to understand that. Now it's my journey. I own it. And whoever doesn't like it, well, I mean, it's fine. Like, it's fine. I'm okay with my 5%. And that's really what the point is. It's like, be happy with quality, not quantity.
Mm. Now, your website, Image Impact Index. What can we find on your website?
Yeah, well, you go online, imageimpactindex.com. Now we actually completely, I rebranded everything because I wanted it to be simple. I didn't want to be, images on top of images, more explaining. No, it's very concise, very precise, page by page. And now with each month, it's going to be each chapter. So we just posted, the theme of chapter 1, which is Through New Eyes. Through New Eyes is the discovery of me as a kid to understand the butterfly effect. When you change one little thing, your whole world changes. And now we're going to post, we have 2 posts coming up this week. And every week it's going to be a different conversation, a podcast, some short stories, 5 minutes of audio explaining one thing or another. And that's how the website is really about to communicate a message clearly, efficiently. Branding is a word that's so complicated for most people. No one understands it. It's like, remember the cloud when everybody, it's the cloud. Well, what is the cloud? Have you seen the cloud? I mean, no, it's the same thing. Branding is scary. Branding is everything unknown to men is scary. That's out of your comfort zone. So I want imageimpactindex.com to be a place where you could start going for your aha moment. You listen to something, suddenly it resonates with you. It's like, oh my God, yes. Oh, I was wondering about that. And that's really where it's at. And obviously the other one, which is my email, my direct email, which is info@talktopatrice.com, is here to build a community, to answer questions, the questions that maybe you don't dare ask publicly, like right here, right now with you. But you feel like maybe in writing, he doesn't know the way I look, so I can ask that question because that question is going to help the person to empower them and knowing how to build the next step of their brand.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared with us this evening. This has been an absolute delight to have you on and connected. I have the website up here. Patrice Bisiot is I said that wrong. How many times have I said that?
So all along.
No, you call yourself a style
Interventionist.
Yes, very interesting. And it goes, it fits. It totally makes sense. And thank you so much for sharing your 25 years in 5 minutes, because it truly was. And I love every bit of this interview. I'm honored to have you with us.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So for anyone that would like to email you, it's info@talktopatrice.com. That's info@talktopatrice.com. And thank you again for joining us. And you know what? You're a friend of the show now. So if you have another book, if you have anything that you would like to chat about, just send us an email. I'd love to have you on the show again.
Thank you. Oh yeah, we're gonna do some, we're gonna create some magic together for sure.
Wonderful. I'm excited. I cannot wait. All right. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you soon.
I'll see you soon.
Bye now. Oh my goodness. I love every single friend of this show. I'm so grateful. And as always, we are blessed. You are blessed. Mwah. I love you, and I will see you very, very soon. This Friday evening, we will be talking to a flock of